I'm going to pick up where we left off, which is the last four letters of the alphabet. So here's the interesting thing. If you look at these as patterns, now the word, and again, I'm trying to make you familiar with the letters of the alphabet, so that when you read a word, you're not just reading letters, like in English, you're just reading letters. Cat, spelled C-A-T. Well, what's the big deal? That's just the way you spell it. Phonetically, you learn how to go k-a-t. Okay, that's as far as you go. But in Hebrew, you go a lot further. And so I'm trying to show you that the letters all mean something. So the word for pattern is spelled the letter Tav, which is the sign of the covenant, is what it means. And then it's the word Bet, Yod, Nun. No, excuse me. It's Bet, Nun, Yod, and then the letter Tav. Tav, Bet, Nun, Yod, Tav. Tabanit. That's the word for pattern or paradigm or model. So Moses was told to make the Mishkan, the tabernacle on earth, according to the pattern, the Tabanit, that he was shown on the mountain regarding that, you might say, the heavenly model. Well, if you don't read Hebrew, you just look at that and you go, well, there's some squiggles, they look like ants crawling on the page or whatever, but it's translated as pattern, so okay, he made it according to the pattern. Wait a minute. The beginning word, the beginning letter and the last letter is the Tav, the sign of the covenant. So you could say, well, here's two signs of covenants. Gee, is that like the new covenant and the old covenant, the old covenant and the renewed covenant? Is there two covenants? Or are they all the same? Well, there's only one covenant. I would suggest that the covenant is what's revealed in these 22 letters, and there's only one. And because Israel lost it, tripped over it, dropped it, broke it, threw it away, and then Yeshua came to restore it, it's only one covenant. And I know that disagrees with a lot of people's theology and doctrines, but I propose that this 22 letters of the alphabet is the covenant. And so when you read in the scriptures about the covenant presented to Adam, and the covenant presented to Noah, and Abraham, and Moses, and the one on Moriah and Horeb, I think there's talked about two different mountains, and Sinai, and then you've got the Jeremiah 31 covenant, and you got the covenant with David, and you got the Salt covenant, and in fact, Monty Judah did this whole thing saying, depending on how you count it, there might be like over a dozen different covenants. I suggest they're all one covenant, expressed to different people in different formats or in different expressions, but always the same format. And this is the format. The last three lines on the bottom of the chart, I have Exodus 20, and then I have Jeremiah 31, and then I have Daniel chapter 12. Now, a few minutes ago, I started to go through Daniel chapter 12, but I only got as far as the man slain. I'll show you the rest of that in a minute, just so you understand where this is going, because Jamie kind of advertised this particular talk regarding hide the word, conceal the book of Daniel chapter 12. But let me show you the last three letters. This is the pattern. Aleph through He is Yahweh, the Creator, saying, this is what I'm going to do. Then I'm proposing that the Het through Zadi, in this white pattern, is the kingdom of heaven on earth, where Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. This is our treasure. This is the stuff that he promised us for our good, but we don't know what it is. Neither did our forefathers, and they threw it away. They stepped on it, they dropped it, they kicked it out the door, they spit on it, they did whatever. And then Yahweh even says, and I forget where it's read should be, he says, I will call in the Peretz, Kind of sounds like pirates. It literally means those who break things, those who steal things, those who have no regard for any proper order. He will call them, and it says, because you guys, you Israel, broke my stuff, I'm going to show you what you've done to me, and I'm going to call in the worst people on the face of the earth I can find. Nazis, Assyrians, Huns, Vikings. He called in the Piritzim to come in and destroy, pillage, pollute, defile, rip out, and do every heinous, inhuman act, atrocity to Israel to show them what they did to him. Oh, come on, they didn't do that to him. He's up there in the heavens and nobody can touch him. That's not what he described. And if we can get to it, I will address it later. Let me address it this way. There's the word that means the breaking of a dream or the solution of a problem. Or you have a dream and you don't know what it means and somebody solves it. So it's like, oh, I solved the mystery. The word breaking of a dream. But Yahweh uses it in the sentence that he says, my hopes that you broke, my desires, the stuff that I had in mind that you guys broke. And we think, oh, well, oops, broke it. Whatever. You know, he's got many planets on many, you know, how big is the universe? How big is heaven? How many, you know, piles of gold can he invent? What does he care? Wait a minute. Imagine this. The creator of the heavens and earth had a dream. Pictures Martin Luther King. I have a dream. And he pictured this fairy tale land in the by and by that if only it could be one day. And it's like, you know, Yahweh expressed that he had a dream. He envisioned a relationship, a plan that he was going to have with his people Israel. And he says, you guys broke my dream. But that word broke literally means fractured, shattered, busted, trampled on, ground up, pulverized, destroyed, ruined, and it goes on. And it's like, wait a minute. We did that to him? What was that dream? What was he thinking? What did he want out of this relationship? So Monty Judah was here a couple weeks ago. I didn't see Sunday, I was there for Saturday, and he was describing doing marriage counseling, that when a couple has marital problems, he takes them back to the vows and says, what were you expecting? What did you have in mind when you got together with your spouse? What did you picture? And your spouse hasn't lived up to it? What were you thinking? What were you expecting? Did they know you were expecting that? Did you ever share what you were expecting with one another? What exactly did you think was going to happen? And does the problem that you now have mean that somebody blew it, or did you have unrealistic expectations? Or let's go back and find the nature of the problem. So we could think, oh, well, Yahweh said, I want to be your Elohim and you can be my people. And it's like, oh, well, okay, that sounds pretty good. What do I think that means? Hey, he said he'd protect us from our enemies. He said he'd give us food and water. He said he'd take us to the promised land. Sounds pretty good. So he takes them out into the desert, and they're hungry and thirsty. Well, this isn't what I had bargained for, they said. They, our forefathers, Israel. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. And then the next thing you know, finally he coughs up some quail. Only we cough up on it. You know, we eat the quail and start choking, and then he kills 20,000 of us. And then we decided to have a party because who knows what happened to Moses. And the next thing you know, he comes back, he gets mad, throws things, breaks things, and calls out the Levites to kill 3,000 people, sticking them with swords. It's like, that's no way to have a party. What's going on here? He's our Elohim? Is this his idea of fun? Is this what he had in mind? And then he says to Moses, I am so ticked off at you, you people, you Israelites. I'm going to wipe you all out, and I'm going to make a whole new country, a whole new nation out of Moses. Gee, we want this guy as our Elohim? And then gentle Jesus, meek and mild, comes along and says, hey, everything's okay. Everything's just fine. Come on, come to me and I'll give you rest, and you guys don't have to do a darn thing. So here's the story that our forefathers were given this covenant, and then we're told, you know, Yahweh's such a big, stupid jerk. He knew darn well they couldn't keep it. As a matter of fact, he invented humanity, and he designed humanity to not be capable of keeping these instructions. And he took thousands of years bringing up this people, multiplying them through Egypt, to drag them into the desert and get bam, 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 knock them out one by one to say, see, you can't keep my rules. And I'm going to beat you up and strangle you and bring in your enemies and have them tear you apart and ravage you to show you that you can't do it. And then Jesus comes along and says, you guys don't even have to. As a matter of fact, you guys that tried, you got nothing to do with my kingdom. If you try, you're out of here. I'm going to call you a dirtiest name I can think of. I'm going to call you a Judaizer. But the rest of the people that don't know anything about my covenant, don't know anything about my instructions, don't know anything about me, guess what? You get to come in my kingdom and have all the goods, and you don't have to do a darn thing. I did it for you. Something about this doesn't look fair, doesn't look right. And it's very disturbing. I would maintain it's because it's not true. Moses said, "Do not say that these things are too hard for you, or that they're impossible. Or one should go up into the heavens and bring them down because they're so lofty. Or one should go into the depths of the earth and bring them up from some secret buried place because they're so mysterious." He says, these words are in your mouth to do them. These words are your life. These words are your health, your wealth, your peace, your prosperity. And to keep these words is the living, dynamic, active, engaged relationship with Yod-He-Vav-He, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Something about the story of what I just described, of what really happened, was the problem with them not doing what they were given the capacity to do. It wasn't the proof that they couldn't. It was the fact that they chose not to. And we're told all through the Old Testament, repeatedly, you guys were given these instructions and you chose not to, so this is what happens. You don't want the stuff? Fine, I'll give it to your neighbors. But your neighbors can't do this stuff because they don't know how. You were supposed to tell them how, and you didn't. It's kind of like, here's a story. I'm going to change it up a little bit. This is a true story, and then I'll tell you the change. Here's the true story, and it goes right to the heart. This is a true story as I understand it to be. A wealthy man had a son graduating from high school and says, "What do you want for graduation?" The kid said, "Man, I want a brand new, best muscle car on the market, this Mustang 350 GT. Man, I got to have that car." And the dad says, "Well, he says, I got to have that car." It's like, so graduation comes, and the dad says, "Come on into my office. Here, I'm going to give you something." The guy comes in, and the man hands his son a Bible. And the son looked at it and says, I've had it. I'm sick to death of you and your stupid religion, your stupid rules. I can't stay. I've had it. That's it. I told you I wanted that car, and this is... And he left. Never saw his father again. 20, 30 years later, father dies. A strange relationship. The rest of his life. Comes back to make the funeral arrangements and walks into his dad's office, his study, and hey, there on the shelf is that Bible. That's the Bible that he tried to give me 30 years ago. Man, that's the last time I ever talked to him. He picks it up and he opens it up, and inside was the title of his title deed to the 350 Mustang GT and the key and the note that says, "I just want you to know the important things in life." Here, read this Bible when you get a chance. It's like, so what? Now here's the part that I'm adding. What happened to the car? Well, according to the story of Yahweh, what he said to Israel, he says, "I've given you a race car like you wouldn't believe. It is beyond your wildest dreams. You can't imagine what I've given you. Here you go." And Israel says, "You and your stupid laws, your religion, we hate this stuff. We'd rather be with our pagan neighbors." And he says, "Fine. See ya." Slams the door behind him, hopes it hits them in the rear end as they go out, and says, "I'll let your neighbors drive the car. Only your neighbors don't have any hands. They're like animals. And so imagine giving the nice car to the dogs, to the chimpanzees, to the whatevers. They can't drive the thing. Nobody can drive this thing. It was designed for Israel." So for the next 2,730 years, Leviticus 26, 4 times Yahweh says, you Israel, if you refuse to come home, refuse to come back, I'm going to multiply the curse 7 times. Ezekiel chapter 4, he lied on his side, 40 days for the house of Yehudah. Of course, that was multiplied up to 70 because they didn't keep the Shabbat 7-year land covenant Sabbath for 490 years, so 1/7 of that would have been 70, so they were in captivity 70 years in the land of Babylon. At the time of Daniel, he interpreted that. That's another story. But 390 days for the house of Israel he laid on his side. Ezekiel chapter 4, 390 times 7, 2,730. Assyria came in 721 BC, conquered Samaria. There's no year zero. It goes from 1 BC to 1 AD. You do the math, and it comes out to 2010. If this is a true reckoning of time, as of 2010, we get to come home. Here's a story related to the New Testament. The parable of the prodigal son. The prodigal son takes his inheritance, runs it off, squanders it. The economy changes. It gets blown. He's out of work. He ends up feeding pigs. It's another story. I don't want to be distracted. He is sitting there all of a sudden one day, he says, wow, gosh, I'm sitting watching these pigs eat all this rotten food, because, when food goes to sour, you feed it to the pigs. It wasn't just corn. It was all kinds of scraps of food. And he sees all this great food that's rotting, going to the pigs, and he better not eat that food. If he's being hired to feed those pigs, if he takes the food from those pigs, he's now in big trouble from his boss. And he's saying, man, if I could just eat some of the food of these pigs. Well, if you look in the dictionary, you have to know what the word pig is. Here's how one of the ways you use the dictionary. You read in the word, well, wait a minute, you can't read in the word because the Tanakh's written in Hebrew, and the word of the parable of the pig and the prodigal son is written in Greek. So you got to look up in Strong's, and the word for pig in Hebrew, because he used the word pig and it's only written in Greek. And then you look up the word for pig, and then you look up in the dictionary for the word pig, and you'll find out that not only does it mean pig, but the word pig, azir, means also one who returns, one who goes back. And you go, but the word shuv means one who goes back to shuv. It's an old man. And well, why would the word shuv, shin vav bet, mean an old man or one who returns? Well, it's kind of like the old man is the guy that keeps coming back for every festival. Another trip around the sun, he keeps coming back. He keeps coming back. You have to be an old man, a gray-haired old man. That's the word for one who returns. But the word specifically for pig is one who comes back around. And he's sitting there looking at these pigs and saying, I wish I could eat the food of one of these pigs. Well, that's English. In Hebrew, he was saying, I wish I could eat the food of one of these guys who comes back. And you go, why don't I go back home to my father's house and eat the food of one who returns? Why don't I go home and eat the food of one who returns? And he did. And as he was walking back, his father races out to meet him and says, looking forward to this day. This is the food of one who returns to the Father's table. This Hebrew, the Shabbat, the festivals. What is in here? What is in that book? What's the race car? Did our forefathers ever open it up? No. Why not? Those fools. I'll show you what's in between the inverted noons. Very interesting. Brings us to the letter Kuf. Well, actually, we didn't get to Samakayim Pei. Samakayim Pei. Shema, hear, believe, and do. That's the commandment given to Adam. That's the commandment given to all of Israel. Shema Israel, it's called the Shema. It means hear, believe, and do. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. It's translated in English, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Doesn't really read that way quite so much, but it's pretty close. But Shema, well, Shin Mem, Shin is teeth or fire, Mem is water or to be birthed. You might say, well, fire and water, that's kind of a spirit essence and a material essence. But this letter Ayin, that's the next letter. Ayin is an eyeball, and it literally means understanding, wisdom, to be able to see, to knowledge, to comprehend. And remember, it's like the scales of Judgment Day, so it's a proper balancing. You're looking, evaluating, discerning, contemplating, cogitating, thinking, meticulously getting right the details, the balance of all things. Shema, but the word Shem, interestingly enough, is also the word name. So this is Shin Mem Ayin, is the word Shema. Shin Mem is a name. But it's not just name, it's a fame, renown, and reputation. So Yahweh's name is not just Jehovah, or the Lord, or God Most High, or the Almighty, or Maker of heaven and the earth. That's his stuff, that's kind of it. But what is his fame? He said, you keep the Sabbath day, and they'll know that I am your Elohim. Who's your Elohim? Yahweh? Oh, you must keep the Sabbath day. Interesting thing, I don't know if we'll have time to go into the details, but there's this word in, I think it's Psalm 138, I think it's verse 2. Anyway, it says, He's exalted his name He has exalted his word above all his name. People familiar with that word, that verse? He has exalted his word above all his name. That's English. I will run through possible scenarios of what this means. He has exalted his word above all his name. All his name is down here, but his word is exalted way above all his name. It's like, all his name? It doesn't make any sense. All his name? He has exalted his word above his name. Well, that makes sense. Above all his name? I don't understand this phrase, all his name. Every name? He has exalted his word above every possible name? Maybe. But how about he has exalted his word? Yes, but above all, he has exalted his name. Well, now you've got, which one is higher than the other? How do you balance these scales? The word for above happens to be ayin lamed. So, part of this I was going to have everybody flip through the dictionary, but that's going to take some time. So let's just look up this word ayin lamed. It's on page 472, and it says, this is what the word ayin lamed means. Height, upper part, above. There you got it. Either his word is above his name or his name is above his word. Now we have to figure out how to have the right doctrine, the right theology. We need to figure out which was which. Oh, wait a minute, let's keep reading. Depending on how you have the vowel point of Masoretic scribes' dots and lines underneath the letters, which is modern Hebrew. But see, in Paleo, there is no dots, there is no lines, there is no vowel marks. Nobody knows how it was pronounced. It's all a guess. So the wonder is, who came up with the Masoretic vowel points? That's a whole other issue. But here's what else the word ayin lamed means. On, upon, above, at, beside, toward, against, concerning, about, because of, on account of, together with. Well, suddenly it's not just above, it's something in reference to, specifically referenced to. That thing which is right next to that other thing. Oh, that thing which is above the other thing. That thing which is in reference to the proximity of, regard the other thing and you know where that is. That's what it means. You read the next word, yoke. A yoke. His word is yoked to his name. What's his word? Keep the Sabbath day and the festivals. Oh, you must regard Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. He's the only guy that would require of you keeping his name and his festivals, is Shabbat. You worship Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh? Oh, you must be one who keeps the Shabbat and the festivals then, because you cannot separate the yoke of the name and the word. See, we have been taught that the yoke was cut. Well, there's a verse. Again, I can't tell you exactly where it is offhand. I've got it written down, but that'll take too much time to look up. He says, you, speaking to the princes of Israel, I believe is who he's talking about, he says, you guys have broken the yoke. You've cut the straps. It's like, wait a minute. If you have a yoke across your shoulders with two straps and buckets hanging off it, you figure, if you break the yoke, that's like breaking the yoke, snapping the wooden crossbeam. He didn't say you broke the yoke by cutting the wooden crossbeam. You broke the yoke by cutting the straps. Well, suddenly that makes you think of another story in the Brit Hadashah, the New Covenant, the New Testament, where it says, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy. And then you have another one who says, what's the greatest commandment? Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor and yourself. On these two hang all the law and the covenant. So what's the yoke? Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbors yourself. What's hanging on this yoke? All the law and the covenants, the Torah and the Nevi'im. Well, if you cut off the Torah and the prophets simply said, go back and do what the Torah said, and you'll get blessed, and you don't do it, you'll get cursed. You cut them off and say, hey, we got a pretty light yoke. It's pretty easy. We don't have to do a darn thing. It was all done for us. Besides that, we couldn't have done it. And he says, if you cut the things off the yoke, you've broken the yoke. Take my yoke upon you. What, a broken yoke? Was that what he was saying? He says, it's easy. It's light. What is so easy and light about keeping these commandments? There's 613. Well, the United States has over 1 million laws. You think the Torah is hard. And apparently in the New Testament, there's something like 1,200 or 1,500 or something different instructions, what you might call laws. And it's like, but come on, even if there was only 10, I mean, why? We don't have to. Wait a minute. I'm just giving you some of the moans that I've heard. The word for commandment is spelled het kuf. Het kuf. I don't know a het kuf. I don't speak Hebrew. What's a het? A het is a fence. What's a kuf? It's a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke, showing Yahweh's presence when he was shekinah, abiding in the presence of his people over the Mishkan, directly over the Ark of the Covenant, as a big question mark, an exclamation point, says, hey, look right here. Everything inside the fence, the pasture, Yeshua said, come to me and you'll find rest. Come to my pasture. Come to the kingdom of Yud-He-Vav-He. Come to the tower, the Migdal David, right there in Jerusalem, this giant tower. Well, it wasn't David's. It was built by a Saracen, Turkish, Islamic warlord, but it's called the Migdal David. It's a piece of archaeology. But the point is, there was a tower of David, but the tower of Yahweh is our bastion, our refuge, our strength. It's this kingdom right inside this chet. And this pattern in Paleo, see, this is drawn like a Shinto gate of Japan. There's a reason for that. That's another part of the story. But this chet here is like the two sheepfolds held together with a vav, a nail, a hook, which is like Yeshua, the door of the two sheepfolds. It's like the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. How do you draw that? The two dippers are actually sheepfolds in the constellations. And the two sheepfolds hooked together look like the chet with a pin, a vav, a nail, like the one door of the chet, which is the Yod-He-Vav-He. So the picture of the letter chet is to say, this is my name on my kingdom, of my tower, of my refuge, of my strength, which is your protection, which is also your treasure box. Your treasure box. And the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke is to say, no one's going to mess with this treasure box. Yahweh's present. It's being held for his people. The Egyptian army saw the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, and they could not cross to invade the trapped people of Israel before they crossed over on the Red Sea. There's nobody messing with the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. And this is Yahweh's treasure box, and it's spelled Chet Kuf. So what I would say, if you know how to read the letters of the Hebrew, is that everything in the Chet, with the Kuf over the top, like the lid, this is the treasure. It's a picture of the Ark of the Covenant itself. Here's the box with the lid, with the Melachim, the angels, the messengers on top, and it's like, what's inside? The Ten Commandments. And what's above that? The big pillar of smoke, like a question mark. Got any questions? Exclamation point, pillar of fire. It's this stuff right here pointing to what? What's in the Ten Devarim? Well, we look at it like the kid looked at the Bible and said, it's a bunch of laws. It's a bunch of rules. It's just your religion. It's like, why do we think that? Because I can open up the English Bible and read it. It says, thou shalt not. Thou shalt not. Blah, 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 blah. But guess what? If you read it in Hebrew, there's a different way to read it. Surprise. We don't read Hebrew. We don't know what else it says. We never opened the book to read it in Hebrew, so we didn't know there was the key of the sports car in there. There's something else in this Hebrew, and it's the key to the sports car. It's the covenant, which we broke, which we didn't know was anything else other than a religious format of a bunch of stupid rules. And what I'm suggesting is we now can come back. And Yeshua raised up the ensign and said, come on back, boys. And it's like, nah, it's okay. It's like, okay, 7 times, 2,730 years. You see, had Israel returned some did, but had Israel returned back when Yeshua was here, we'd have a different history of the world. They probably would have gotten the covenant. What was it the disciples said when Yeshua rose from the dead? The first thing they asked him, anybody know? Is it now you're going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Now? Can we have it now? We haven't got it yet. I haven't seen the kingdom restored. I was talking to somebody here before the talk here. John chapter 3. Nicodemus comes and speaks to Yeshua. It's like, what? No, he didn't. It was Nicodemus. Well, wait a minute. Nicodemus? I've always heard it was Nicodemus. It's like, wait a minute. Nicodemus. Well, in Greek, you spell the last 2 letters of a first person singular masculine ends with a US, Nicodemus. Well, he was the leader of the Jews. He wouldn't have been named Nicodemus. That's a transliteration. It would have been Nicodemon. And there was a certain version of the scriptures I got which it had the word Nicodemus, and it struck me. It's like, wait a minute, I don't recognize this name. How might the word Nicodemus be spelled? Sounds Hebrew. Look up in the dictionary. Well, how do you do it? Well, I'm trying to talk about how to use the dictionary. One thing I found is you start at the left-hand side, the end of the word, and you do that because you don't know what letters are a prefix, you don't know what letters are a suffix, but if you start the left-hand side of the word and start breaking it down into one-letter and two-letter and three-letter word groups, you'll find out a way to interpret the name. So, for example, Nicodemus, it's written in the New Testament, it's in Greek, it's in Aramaic, it's not in Hebrew, I don't know how to spell it, so phonetically, Nicodemus. Well, the nun, that's an N, that's the first letter. Kuf or Kaf or maybe Chet could be the second letter. Dalet is a D, I, that's a Yod. Mem nun, Nicodemus, right? So phonetically, you don't know this if you don't know the alphabet, but Nun, Kuf, Dalet, Yod, Mem nun. Well, Mem nun, those are the last two letters, and it literally means like a chicken jumping out of the egg or a fish jumping out of the water. It means out of and away from. As a matter of fact, they said when manna appeared, they go, where'd this stuff come from? It just appeared on the ground. Did it fall from the sky? What? That's what manna means. Where did this stuff come from? What is this? Manna, manna, mem, nun. Die, dalet, yod. Die, well, that sounds like English, meaning that's when your life stops. We were watching this movie done in Israel called Ushvazim, and the lady, I noticed, because you won't find the word dalet yod meaning enough or stop in the dictionary. But I heard her say, die. It's like, stop, enough, shut up. Die, that means stop, that means enough. If we had enough, who had enough? Nikad, if you look up in the dictionary under nun, kuf, dalet, it means like nicked. Like if you put nicks in a piece of furniture, you're dinging it, right? Nun kuf dalet, you look up in this dictionary, it means to drill holes into something or to mark, pock marks, put holes in it. So this guy named Nicodemus comes up and talks to Yeshua. And I was talking to the pastor here earlier and say, what was it? Think about it. What was it that Nicodemus wanted to talk to Yeshua about? Does anybody know? I'll answer the question. No, you don't. He never got a chance to say what he came up and talk about. Because he walked up to Yeshua, he came up at night and he says, hey, we've been watching you, and we know that you come from Elohim, because nobody can do these works you do unless Elohim be with him. And, well, he was stopped. Yeshua then takes the conversation and runs with it and starts asking him questions, and Nicodemus he was trying to answer the best he could, and he trips him up into this whole thing with John 3:16 and being born again and all. And it's like, wait a minute. Verse 20 or so, the conversation ends, and now Yeshua's off with his disciples, and you go, wait, what just happened? He didn't give him a chance to even talk. What did Nicodemus come to speak to Yeshua about? I guess we'll never know. Well, then what did Yeshua spin off on that? And as the pastor said here, Yeshua knows our hearts. So he was probably addressing an issue that was in Nicodemus' heart. But we don't know what it is because he doesn't say. It's like, wait a minute, there's something mysterious about Hebrew. Monty Judith talks about the jots and the tittles. Well, we're told that a jot and a tittle, jot, that sounds like yot, which sounds like yod, and yod is probably this letter here, which in Paleo, it's the same size as every other letter, but in modern, it's a little tiny letter, looks like an apostrophe, so maybe he was talking about the yods. So whenever there was a yod, that was a jot, and a tittle is like there's these flourishes, because these are called flame letters, there's a little flourish on the top of each letter, a little stroke of the pen, and those must mean the tittles. So until every little stroke of the pen or every yod is fulfilled, and it's like, how do you fulfill a flame letter? These flame letters didn't come about until at least 500 BC. Does that mean they're authorized? Does that mean they're authentic? But what about the other letters written by the finger of Elohim on tables of stone, and the letters that planned before the foundation of the world that represent the Messiah? There was no tittles. But Monty Judah suggests that the jots and tittles were the anomalies written in the text of the script of the Hebrew Torah. You'll never find them in an English Bible. But in Hebrew, you'll notice that there are 3 words in the Torah which have dots above them. One of them happens to be when Jacob and Esau met and they were going to be reconciled, and Jacob thought he was going to kill him. Esau's coming with 400 men riding on horses armed to the teeth. And Esau falls on Jacob's neck and kisses him. But there's dots above the word kissed. And the rabbis have said in their commentaries that, well, he really wanted to bite him. Those dots are like vampire dots. It's like, wait a minute. That word kissed isn't even kissed. You look in the dictionary, it means to be refreshed. But why is there dots there? Another place where there's dots is Deuteronomy 29:29. And what it says is, previous to the verse, in verse 28, it says, Moses now speaking prophetically saying, you guys are going to blow it. You're going to get dispersed all across the face of the earth, and you will be shalach is the word, like shellac, which is like painting and thrown. But the word shalach has an enlarged letter lamed in the middle of it. Well, the word lamed means teach and learn. It happens to be this letter that looks like a shepherd's crook, and it means teach or learn. The word lamed means teach and learn. Wait a minute. John chapter 3, Yeshua said, are you not a great teacher of Israel, or the great teacher of Israel? He's an enlarged lamed. Nicodemus is an enlarged lamed. But the next verse says, the hidden things are unto Yahweh, unto Elohim. I mean, only he knows what he didn't reveal. What he did reveal, which happens to be these 22 letters and every word that can be spelled in Hebrew with these 22 letters and everything that's manifest in the heavens and the earth, outer space and on the face of the earth and under the sea, which is all a manifestation of these 22 letters, which he spoke and said, let there be, and there is. But what he didn't make, unto the eternal, omnipotent one that is beyond what's called in Hebrew the Ein Sof, the one without limit. We don't know what that is, but what he did reveal is for us and our children. In Hebrew it says, Leno, velabenu, in order to keep the words of this Torah. And the words for us and our children happens to have dots above those words. For us and our children, to keep the words of this Torah. Why should we keep the words of this Torah? It says in Malachi, Yahweh says, you return to me, and I'll return to you. Why did he give us these words? So we'll have something to return to. These words are for us, meaning the people of our ancestors' days, and for our children, that's us. These words are for us to keep the words of this Torah and get the blessing. And the word Nicodemus means dots. Well, that's like the words nicked, nicked, which is the dots above the words for us and our children, and he's in an enlarged letter lamed, which is in verse 28. So here you got Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 28 and verse 29 with two anomalies, which is the enlarged letter lamed and the dots above us and our children, and they both say Nicodemus. And Nicodemus says, we've been watching you. You come from Elohim. Can we get the kingdom back yet? Was that what he was asking? The same thing the disciples asked, can we get the kingdom back yet? Can we get the race car? Can we get the covenant? Can we get the blessing? Can we have it now? And he says, keep the words of the Torah. Keep the words of the Torah. These words were given because the word memnun means out of and away from, and the dalet yod means die, which means enough. And was Nicodemus saying, Nicodemus is his name embedded in the spelling of his name, the meaning of his name embedded in the way it was spelled. We have suffered under the tyranny of our oppressors for long enough. Die, enough. Can we please come home? And come home and do what? Spit on the stuff again? Or come home and do what he said? Come home and eat the food of one who returns. I'll tell you, if this is the end of 2,730 years, are we going to come home and spit on his stuff, break his dream, and let it pass to some other generation, or are we going to come home and keep the words of the Torah? What are the words of the Torah? If you don't know how to read Hebrew, you won't know the words of the Torah. The benefit of this dictionary is that you can get the Torah, but if you don't recognize the letters, you can't get anywhere with it. If you recognize the letters, you can get somewhere. Let me go on to this. So Zadi means the righteous one. It's the stuff in the Ark of the Covenant. It's the iconic, archetypal figure of Yeshua, the perfect one, the one doing the words of the Torah. He was sinless. He did everything he was supposed to. And he says, hey, follow me. You can do the same thing. My yoke is easy and light. Here's what you have to do. Love Yahweh with all your heart. How do you do that? Well, it's in the Ten Commandments. Know who he is. Know that he's the one who brought you out of Egypt. He's the one who set you free. Don't have any false deities, because that's like, don't you know who he is? If you know who he was, if you knew that he was the El Elyon, El Shaddai, the Almighty, the one who made the world and who's going to stop the world, the one who keeps everything going. I mean, I could go on and on with the definition of his name in Hebrew. But the point is, do you know who he is? What do you have with false idols, things made by your own hands? There's another place where he says they're like rolls of little dung that you roll for yourselves, pick up and roll it and stand it up and then bow down to it. And it's like, you idiots. That's literally, it's in the, I'll show you where it is. But the point is, That's what it is. That's what we've done. And then he says, keep my name. Don't take my name in vain. Why? That's a whole other teaching. But if you take his name in vain, means it bringeth to nothing. So one reason why I use his name, much to the chagrin of some, is because even Boaz, and Yahweh is no respecter of persons, but Boaz would meet his workmen in the field and he would say, Yahweh, I'm come. Well, I'm come, that means with you. Yahweh be with you. And they would respond, and Yahweh yivarechecha Yahweh, which means, and bless you, Yahweh. A common greeting? Is that profane? Is that common? Or is that kadosh? Is that like, this is the highest greeting of speaking forth and declaring a blessing on ones you care about. Yahweh ankam, yivarechecha Yahweh. It's the pinnacle of the words that can possibly come from any human mouth to one another. And yet we're told that I took it out of our mouth. We don't want to profane it. It's bringing it to nothing. Vanity, emptiness, worthlessness, to not mention his name. But Yahweh said, because you guys profaned my Shem, my name, I'll take it out of your mouth. You won't be able to say it. There you go. You see, the curse we've inherited is the curse that Yahweh put on us. We've no one but ourselves to blame. Because the word Shem means name, fame, noun, reputation, occupation, stuff you're concerned with. And what I would put to you is that every one of these letters is Yahweh's Shem. The Shem of renown, the one of the memorial name that he told Moses about in Exodus chapter 3 was Yud He Vav He. But every one of these letters represents Yahweh's fame, renown, reputation. He's the guy who invented these letters. He's the guy who's responsible for what every letter means. And this is his face, as we discussed earlier. This is him revealed, these 22 letters. This is his Shem. Therefore, if we take this up in vain, what are we doing? But to take this with serious regard and diligent study. I mean, I've got stuff I was going to talk about here, and I don't know how much time we have. We're running out, but it's like, boy, I don't think I got past the first line. The point is, what's kuf? Pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, that which rises up and spreads out. It means after this, it's the back of the head. It's the future hope set before us. It's our covering. It's like the helicopter view. So here you have the fence. And Daniel says, how long to the end of these wonders? I'm going to jump back to Daniel here. The one who lives forever. He said, how long to the end of these wonders? The one man held up his right hand and left hand, man clothed in white linen. The one who lives forever, he said it would be time times and half a time. That's an extent. That's a perimeter. That's like the fence. Here's the enclosure. Time times and half a time. Until the completion. Well, the tet is a full basket. Until the completion of the fragmenting of the hand of the kadosh people. The people, the kadosh, the holy, the called out ones, are going to get their hands fragmented and stomped on. Until that comes to an end, then you jump to the next letter. And I'm showing you, if you look at the letters as like on a clock or on a cogs on a wheel, like a gear wheel, like a sprocket, every time there's a concept, it clicks to the next one. And then there's a concept, and then it clicks to the next one. And then there's a concept, and then it clicks to the next one. The last 3 lines of the chart of Exodus 20, Jeremiah 31, and Daniel 12, that's what I've done, is I've rendered 3 sections. I said on the tape 3 verses, but it's 3 sections. It's more than 3 verses. Anyway, you render each concept as it clicks through, like the sprockets on the gear. They fit the alphabetic pattern. And what I'm suggesting is if you take the phrase in each one of those positions of the alphabetic sequence, it explains something about what he just said. So when he said it'll be time times a half a time, that's like a fence, a het. Until the end, that's like the completion, when the basket's full. And then Daniel in the Yod position says, I heard, but I didn't understand. I couldn't grab it. The letter Yod is a hand that grabs a hold of something and works. He says, I can't do anything with this. I don't get it. I'm inferring the meaning of the letter to the position of that sentence that Daniel said in that sequence in Daniel 12. And then so Daniel asked, like an open hand, will you tell me again, please, how long till the end of these wonders? The next phrase you hear is, Lacha, Daniel. It means go. Well, that's the voice of authority. That's the shepherd's staff. That's number 12. That's the government. That's all the meanings of that letter. Go, Daniel. Mem. Mem is a womb. It's something hidden, incubated, hidden until its birth. And the next phrase there is, for the words are hidden and sealed. Well, wait a minute. Let's jump back. Daniel says in verse 4, he was told, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Verse 9, the angel said, go, Daniel, the words are hidden and sealed. What did Daniel just do? Verse 4, hide the words and seal the book. That was a command given to Daniel to do something. Daniel said, I looked and I saw one on the side of the river and that side of the river. I looked up and saw the guy above the river, asked him how long to the end of these wonders. He's raised his hand, swore by him who lives forever. There would be times and half time. I didn't understand. I said, could you tell me again? He says, go, the words are hidden and sealed. What just happened? What I'm showing you is that what I think just happened is Daniel's telling us this story phrase by phrase, aspect by aspect, like keys on a, digits on a clock, key tabs on a sprocket wheel, a gear wheel, fitting the letters of the alphabet. I believe Daniel hid the letters of the alphabet and their meaning by embedding them into this sentence, thus changing the Paleo letters to the modern Chaldean flame letters. And if David hid the words and sealed the book by changing the Paleo letters to the modern Chaldean flame letters, why should he? He was the chief Chaldean. The Chaldeans were the sorcerers, the magicians, the magi, like the three magi that came at the time Yeshua was born. It means the ones who knew the secret mysteries. Daniel was the chief in the kingdom. Only Daniel could do this. He was really smart. He was gifted and he was told by the very angel to do it. Happened about 500 BC. Daniel lived about 500 BC. I think Daniel was told to do this and given the wisdom and the genius to do it. And he did it. You might say, well, he was just reading this narrative. Did he really see somebody? I don't know. But the point is, if you read this story in Daniel chapter 12, you'll see it fits the meaning of the letters exactly. Did Daniel hide it and embed the key to this code in this sequence of phrases? Hide the word and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. I, Daniel, looked. I saw one on the side of the river and the other. Saw him above. It fits the alphabet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin. It fits the pattern. In which case, if he was told to hide it and seal it until the time of the end, and I'm not telling you that this is what he hid and sealed, is this the time of the end? Is this the opening of the unveiling? Is this the greatest event in the last, since 500 BC? In which case, what does this mean? Well, till the time of the end. What end? That's English. Kuf Zadi is the word in Hebrew. Now you got to look back and study what Kuf Zadi means. I got a whole page we could talk about, but I think we're running out of time. We can't get to that. That would have to be another occasion. The point is, he said, go, Daniel, the words are hidden and sealed in time of the end. Noon is an active engagement of doing something, and he says, they will be elucidated and clarified and refined by many. Noon is an active engagement of doing something. Yod is a hand of work. There's a relationship between those two letters. But noon is like a lightning bolt, doing something. They will be elucidated, clarified, and refined by many. Then he jumps to the psalmic position, and remember, psalmic has to do with the good steward doing righteous works. In fact, it fits with the beatitude that says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled, which is where I came up with the correlation of filled, like a menorah filled with oil to produce the fruit of light, the shofar being filled with breath to produce the fruit of sound. It lines up with the beatitude, for they shall be filled. And when I'm talking about the sun being the good servant, the correlation with that day was that the sun is the servant of the day, producing a light. The moon, the servant of the night. He put the sun and the moon in their dispositions, and he put the stars also in their houses, according to their moedim, which is the seasons. It speaks of the principalities and the positions of governing authorities of responsibility. If he gives you the job here, and you the job there, and you the job there, that's like putting you in the psalmic position. Like the branch of the menorah. And Joshua in Revelation talked about the candlesticks. And those who were bad servants doing what they were told, he will remove the candlestick from their place. Those are psalmic concepts. The wicked shall do wickedly. They're not going to do what they're supposed to. They're not going to fulfill the responsibility. Jump to the next phrase. And none of the wicked will understand. Ayin has to do with understanding. But the righteous will understand. That jumps to the pay. Why? Because the pay speaks of the mouth, the words of Elohim, given to us to keep the words of this Torah to do it. And the mouth speaks of the revelation that he gave us. Yeshua said, hey, I'll explain the whole thing to you. It has to do with Sukkot, the festival of Sukkahing, of fellowshipping together. Day 6, where he put the animals and man for fellowship on the face of the earth so we can get along together. See these pictures embedded in these words. Then you go to the Zadi, and he says something about the abomination of desolation. The abomination of desolation is right there at the Zadi. How does that fit with the Ark of the Covenant and the 10 Devarim, the 10 words, the 10 commandments that are in the Ark of the Covenant that were under the big question mark and exclamation point, the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke? What does that got to do with that? Well, think about this. Again, these are pictures. I'm trying to show you pictures. So when you see the letters, you'll have these pictures in your mind. So when you read words, you'll see pictures in letters, which are paleo, not flame, ethereal, magical, magi, Chaldean flame letters, which is the modern, which is what is typically used. What's an abomination of desolation? Well, an abomination is something which is distorted and brings death. It's something which will bring the curse. You know, in the Bible, check out the Torah, and you'll see a whole list of things, one of which is witchcraft, sorcery, and eating certain foods. He says, don't do this, it'll abominate you. It'll sour you. Don't eat the forbidden fruit, Adam and Hua. It'll abominate you. An abomination is something which brings ruin rather than life. Abomination of desolation. What is desolation? Well, it erases. But the Hebrew, the Jewish Tanakh here, calls it the mute abomination. Mute abomination? Is it an abomination of desolation or is it a mute abomination? Here's one of those places where it's like, well, who translated this? Don't we know whether it's mute or desolate? If you mute the words of life, it brings desolation, and it is an abomination. When you change the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday, the seventh day to the first day, you get rid of the 7 Moedim and give us Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, you've caused a mute abomination of desolation. You've changed the Zadi, the stuff underneath the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. You've quenched it. I hope that didn't offend anybody. Then he says, it will be, and he gives an overview, I think it's 1,290 years, or 1,290 days. And you go, now that's an overview. The other overview was time times and half a time, which is the fence. So here you have the fence and the kuf, the fence and the pillar. You have got the box and the cover. It'll be time times and half a time until the end of 1,290. So there's a picture. So the het kuf is this 2 parameters, 2 extents that he describes. And so you see that these letters are working in a system of pictures. These letters are working in a system of pictures. And then he says, praiseworthy is the man. Well, the resh is an exalted man. There's 2 letters which are men. One is the vav, which is like a common man, and the other one is there's this resh, which is an exalted man. Yeshua came the first time as the vav man, revealed as the man who would be slain and put to death and entombed and sealed. And yet by his own hand he did it for you. And yet when he's coming back, see, the kuf also is the back of the head, and it means after this. It's the letter that means the heel, or the footprint of the heel, or that which you leave behind, that which follows you. So the kuf is a picture of that which follows. That which follows this stuff is the exalted man, and yet the kuf is this pillar of fire and pillar of smoke that raises up. So it's a picture of like this mushroom shape. Rises up. It's the shape of the letter Q. Kuf. It's like the mushroom shape. It rises up, singular and plural, like a 1 and a 0. It's this 2 pictures, sun on the horizon. It's way off in the future. Straight line on the horizon, the circle of the sun disk. There's all these pictures you'll see in the letters if you study the letters. But it means, like, it's also the word for monkey, which is like long arm, way out there in the future. Way out there in the future. After this, the exalted man, Yeshua ben David. So here's Yeshua ben Yosef, the suffering servant, put to the death, put to the weapon. And here's Yeshua ben David, the exalted king, coming back, Sheen, as El Shaddai, the Almighty. Shaddai can also mean, Sheen can be read as a prefix of who, and Dai, again, means stop, enough, or says, this is it. I'm the one who's calling this end. It also means teeth or fire, which is to say, the first time he flooded the world to put an end to it, the next time he's coming with fire. When Resh comes back with Sheen, fire, is El Shaddai, the guy who puts a stop to this, and then Tav, it's the end, just like I said. There's the prophecy of Yeshua coming back, Resh, Sheen, Tav. And Kuf can also be seen as a sickle for harvesting, reaping. After this, after what? After these 7 days, modeled by the 7 festivals. If we keep the festivals, picture a blind man. Helen Keller, I think, read people's face with their hands. Yahweh's face. You want to see Yahweh's face? Walk in the festivals. You see, they're not just party days. As we keep the festivals, we're feeling His face, because this is His face. And we were never told this, but this is what it is. It's sitting here the whole time, but we were never told. And so now I'm going to speak a word of prophecy. It says in the Bible, it says, in the later days, people will come back to the door and say, we have only inherited false vanities from our forefathers in which there is no profit. Let us come home. It says we will say that. I just said it. We just spoke a word of prophecy. We need to come home to these things that Yahweh's given us. These are for us to keep the words of this Torah and get the blessing. So, the point is, I'll read the song to you slowly, and I'll point to the letters, okay, so we can just kind of get a feel. Because here's the point, and again, I know we're supposed to be talking about the dictionary, and we'll have to maybe do this again, but the point is about the dictionary. If you don't know the letter sequence, you'll never understand the dictionary. If you can read the dictionary, because you see the letters, I'm going to read one thing, but to clear this up. My name happens to be Eric, and this is called Eriktology. It's all about the letters. Why Eric? Okay, if we read the word spelled ayin, resh, kaf, it's on page 486. Now, if you look at the chart that's out there on display, what we've done is saying nobody knows what these letters mean. Well, this is what they'll tell you. I'll give you the Frank Seekins version. And I'm not disparaging it, it's a starting place. Just to familiarize yourself, because you'll kind of see it on the chart, but I'll make it very easy. Aleph is an ox. Bet is a house. Gimel, camel, same word in English. Dalet, door. He is a window. Vav is a man or a nail. Zayin is a weapon. Het is a fence. Tet is a basket or a snake, that which coils around. Yod is a working hand. Kaf is an open hand. Lam is a shepherd's staff. Mem is water. Nun is something alive like a fish. Samek is a prop. Ayin is an eyeball. Pei is a mouth. Zadi is a fish hook. Kuf means after this, it's the back of the head. Resh is like a head of a man. Shin is teeth or fire. Tav is the sign of the covenant. Do you see a message in there? If you really had to, you could maybe pull together something. But by putting this into the organizational structure of this chart and trying to tell you these things, I'm trying to show you or give you an estimation of value. I'm trying to show you another way to see this language. This is not about me. I'm trying to simply point to Yahweh. I'm trying to show you something where you can look at these letters. It says in Jeremiah 31, concerning the new covenant, the Brit Hadashah, he says, no longer, there's coming a day, Kuf, off in the future, there's coming a day when I will seal with you a new covenant, not like the old one which you broke. Picture Moses taking these things written on stone and smashing them to the ground, and they say, well, we can't do it anyway. I'm going to outsmart you guys. I'm going to write it on your heart. The only way you're going to get this out of your heart is if you have a cardioectomy. The Aztecs used to do it to people. I wonder how many of them happen to be Hebrews that were left in the New World after coming here. Cut your chest cavity open, rip the heart out, and, take a bite out of it and throw it out to the crowd. That's what the Aztecs and Mayans did. That's the only way you're going to get these words out of you. You're not going to break them. Ha-ha. I'm going to make it so you can't just break them. That's what Yahweh was saying to Israel. He says, no longer will every man need to say to his brother, oh, you should know Yahweh. And it's like, why? Hey, for they will all know me. How many people know Yahweh? How many people know Yahweh's day, His word, His Mashiach, and His letters? How many of us today in America, anywhere in the world, know Yahweh? He says, but they will all know me. Oh, that must mean that this hasn't been fulfilled yet, right? Do you really think the end of the world is coming in 2012 when, as of yet, even the one in Jeremiah hasn't happened because nobody knows Yahweh? He didn't say you won't know the Jesus Christ of the Christian gospel. He said they'll all know me. Who's me? He says, Yahweh. Who's Yahweh? We're not even supposed to speak His name, according to some Jewish teachings. They will all know me, from the least of these to the greatest. The least of who? Well, the commentary at the bottom of the Tanakh says, well, it's the children, least of these, the uneducated ones, the peasants, the illiterate. From the least of these to the greatest, the rabbis, the great scholars, the who. It's like, they'll all know me from the least of these to the greatest? Well, what does that mean? Well, because it's English, I got to play with it. What it says is, they will all know Oti. Well, Aleph, Vav, Tav, Yod, as we said earlier, literally means my oath. When he says they will all know me, speaking of Yahweh, he says the word is Oti means my oath. But the word oath also is letter of the alphabet. It's the oath described by the letters of the alphabet. They will all know me by my oath described by the letters of the alphabet coming from the least. Well, the word least is spelled kuf tet, which happens to be where we get the word cute, QT, cute, small little cute little things. And then the word, the greatest of these, is the word ravim, it's just to say ennobled. And my point about this is to say, when you think of these letters as Yahweh's face, Yahweh's words of blessing and the key to the sports car, these things are pretty great. They're no longer cute little things that you just teach the children. He says they will all know my oath, my letters of the alphabet, and the letters of the alphabet will transform from being cute little things that you teach children A, B, C, D, into these great Migdalim, these towers of our defense, of our fortress, of our covenant restored. The word Avraham, Abraham, our forefather, the word Abra has to do with opinion, lifting up like wings of an eagle. Yitzhak has to do with not just laughter, but gleaming, sparkling, bright, bam, like a fireworks going off. And Yaakov means he will leap up like Superman jumping over any obstacle. It means the same word for buzzard, which is way up high, or a high cliff, or something which is so high that nobody can reach you. Joseph literally means he will accumulate, or he will gather up. And so for us to sit here and say, wait a minute, we are of the lineage of one who can soar with wings of eagles, bright, gleaming, shining, and he will leap over any barrier. This is the covenant we were given, to fly, to soar over our obstacles, but we have inherited the curse and we're being dominated by the world system of Daniel chapter 2, the statue of the head of gold, arms of silver, midsection of bronze, legs of iron, which is Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome, which has to do with the banking system, the dominating governmental system, the military system, the cultural system. And what came out of Rome? Christianity and Islam. Stomping the world with these two legs. And what about the feet of iron mixed with clay? Kind of sounds like democracy. Adam is red clay, and it doesn't mix well with these two religious systems, but yet it's tyrannizing the earth. He said in Daniel chapter 2, the vision given to Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold, that an eben, a stone, an aleph bet nun, an aleph bet nooned, given propulsion, flying, hits the feet, it hits the regal. The word in Hebrew is regal, regal. The king's orders of regulations. Regular soldiers march in step. Customs, habits, and traditions as authorized by the king, the dominant system of the conglomerate system that came from Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome, and now exhibited as this democracy. That system gets impacted in its regulations by the Aleph Bet nooned and knocks that statue down. It turns to dust and it becomes a mountain which fills the entire world. And it says, will not yield its sovereignty to another. We're told that happens when Yeshua comes back at the rapture or the millennial kingdom. Maybe not. Maybe it happens when we start doing what he said, which is engaging noon, what Abba, Aleph Bet, said to do from the beginning, and it's the key to the sports car. We have no idea how fast this thing goes, where it goes, or how it can fly, but I can tell you what's in between those inverted noons, and it'll blow your mind. Now, the word for Eric. Now remember the chart, and I'm trying to show you a value of these things that were given no value. These things have been cute little things, and I'm trying to show you how they're ravim. The word Eric, ayin resh kaf. Remember the word ayin means to see and understand. Resh is the exaltedness, the lifted up head, and kaf is the gift given to you by Yahweh. In the Torah, because the kaf also means as the kaf and lamed, teach and learn these Torah instructions, which is the filter that you have to process when you come into the kingdom. Ayin resh kaf means set in order, arrange, assess, to estimate, to value, compared, prepared, kneaded like dough, organized, edited, arranged, attached importance to, order, row, estimate, valuation, entry in a dictionary, here's the dictionary, or a degree, which would be in grammar or mathematics. Everything this is about is doing ayin resh kaf, which is why we're calling this Eriktology. And the reason Eriktology spelled with a K is because the kaf is the equivalent of our letter K. It's just Hebrew. It has nothing to do with the word Eric, meaning my name. It just happens to be coincidental. So the point is, the more we learn about this stuff, we find these riddles all through it. And I can show you, we're running out of time for another break and probably the end of the night here, but I can show you where Yahweh said in Malachi. Let me go back up a little bit. The word Shem is not just this stuff, but the word Shema, Shin Mem Ayin. Shin Mem also means here and there. The letter Ayin means understanding. We just went through that. One of the Proverbs says, here is understanding. Where's understanding? Oh, he's now going to talk about it in the book of Proverbs about understanding. It's a riddle. Shin Mem Ayin. Here is understanding. Shema. Here is wisdom. Shema. What does it mean? It means hear, believe, and do. How do you hear, believe, and do? How you hear, believe, and do is shomer. Shomer is watch, keep, and guard, what Adam was told to do in the garden. It's in Japanese where they get the word samurai. Same word, that's a whole other subject, but the point is samurai and shomer is the king's guard. We were given the job to shema and shomer, these words, as the king's guard. And if we do, we will inherit the heights of Jacob, of Yaakov. What the word Yaakov means heights. What are the heights? To leap up or over our obstacles like Superman over anything they throw at us, because Yahweh will be our defense and our shield, our high tower and our strength that nobody compares to. We have just simply not been told this stuff. You go back to Exodus 20, and you go back to read all through until Exodus 30. Moses is up on the mountain, gets the 10 Commandments. He's about to come down, and Yahweh says, one more thing. One more thing. Tell Israel. Absolutely, they must keep the Sabbath day. And he goes on for about, a dozen verses or something, over and over and over. They must keep the Sabbath day. It's kind of like your dad saying, you must keep oil in this car. Whatever you do, just keep oil in the car. I've blown up an engine before without keeping oil in it. You don't want to do that to the 350 Mustang GT, okay? Keep oil in the thing. Keeping the Sabbath day with any day, one day out of 7, doesn't matter. Yahweh said, if you don't keep this day, it's over, it's done. Might as well park it, and the dogs are going to, they don't know how to drive. The chimp, they don't even have any hands, half these animals, and yet they're going to come in and get your car, and they don't know how to drive. And here's another story that I found embedded in the scriptures. Yahweh said this, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, I'm going to let these other guys come in and use your stuff that I gave to you, but they don't know how to operate it. And when you wake up and get behind the wheel, you can have it back, and the whole world is waiting. The whole world is waiting for Israel to wake up and come back home and get behind the wheel and drive this thing like it's supposed to be driven. And the whole world will benefit, because every one of the various powers that sits behind the wheel and trying to drive that thing is driving it off the cliff and running it into the bridge and into the lake and don't even know how to turn the key on, because none of them are doing what Yahweh said to do. Nobody can operate this thing except for Israel. Now, Israel has the right to show everybody else how to operate, and most of the people that figure stuff out are going, hey, I'm going to keep this for me. And he said, hey, be like the 3 lepers who sit there and say, look, we're going to die in this place. Let's just go out and they found the army that was surrounding them, that was sieging the city, gone and having left all the stuff. And they said, if we keep this for ourselves, the sin will be upon us. We better go back and tell everybody. And there was a stampede to go out and get the provisions. The provisions that Yahweh has given to our enemies that they've been sieging us with are ours for the taking, because it's the end of the 2,730-year curse, and Yahweh said we could have it back if we come back to the covenant, if we come back to His stuff. I think this is what's on the other side of the event that some people say is the doomsday thing. It's like, it's doomsday for them, it's doomsday for if you're part of the structure of that tower, that pillar, the giant that Nebuchadnezzar was given the vision of. But we have to go back and rethink everything we were told about our doctrine and our interpretation and our eschatology. Remember, the Jews won't tell us how to interpret the Scriptures because we've always persecuted them, we meaning anybody who's not a Jew. The word goy, you look in the dictionary, you look under Gimel Vav Yod, you won't find it, just means the nations. But if you look at Hey Gimel Vav, one of the things I was going to say is how to look up prefixes and suffixes, and it's like, we'll have to do this another time. But the point is, if you look at Hey Gimel Vav, you'll see that the same word Hago, means navigation, steering, rudder, helm, steering wheel. But it also means meditation, phonetics, your language. If you learn Hebrew, you learn how to drive, and you're no longer goyim. But if you're nuts, you don't know how to speak the language, you don't know how to steer, and you run this thing into the wall, and you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a rudder. Even James said your tongue is like a rudder, like a sailing a ship. It all fits. Once you start seeing this stuff, everything fits. Riddle after riddle after riddle comes together. It's just amazing. Psalm 23. How many minutes do we have? 1 minute. Psalm 23. Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. His name's sake? What name? The Lord? God? Hashem? Which name? Which name? Which name? Yod He Vav. Hey, where does his name play in? I don't see his name anywhere. You see, he makes me. Hey, wait a minute. The letter Yod is the hand that makes something. He makes me. He leads me. Hey, the hey, he shows me the path. He restores me. Vav is a bridge. It's a connector. He puts me back together. And hey, he leads me in the paths of righteousness. Yod He Vav He. Yod, the hand of the Creator. Hey, the Torah given to us, which is the expression of Yod, the Creator, his ways that we could walk in. Vav, Yeshua, the man who makes the connection. Like if you look at the menorah, he's the center candle, the shemesh, and here's the expression of three, like the hay here, which is the Torah, the expression of three, which is the ruach in us, leading us in the ways of the Torah. So here's the picture of the menorah as being Yeshua, the Vav man, showing us the display, lit as the Torah and the ruach in us. So the second Hey is the Ruach in us leading in the ways of the Torah, so Yod Hey Vav Hey, and you have Yod Hey Vav Hey, the Creator, He makes me. Hey, He leads me with His Torah. Vav, He restores me, Yeshua, who came to restore the covenant. And Hey, He leads me in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. There's another riddle in the Hebrew, if we recognize His name, Yod Hey Vav Hey. This stuff is all over the place. It's a treasure field. This Torah, in the use of this dictionary, and hopefully helpful use of the chart that I made to sit there and render the letters, he said, it's the glory of Elohim to hide a matter. It's the glory of kings. The king, the word for king is melech, which is also one who takes counsel. It's the glory of kings to discover a matter. Now, a lot of people maybe don't care about any of this stuff, but I'll tell you, this is a thrill ride to just find this stuff. And finding it's just the beginning. It's not just, I got some stuff to stick on a shelf. Let me read you what's in between the inverted noons. If I can, do we have... Listen, there's 19 words between the inverted noons. Numbers 10, verses 35 and 36. What they read in English is... Now, what the rabbis say is these two verses come out of nowhere. They don't seem to fit there in the narrative sequence. They don't know why they're there. And when the Messiah comes, he'll take these two verses and he'll stick them where they really belong, which is in some other place that nobody knows. Depending on how you translate, it looks like they fit exactly here, but that's another story. I don't know why these rabbis say that unless they don't even see this stuff, but I don't know. But the point is this. If you read the words differently, I'll read what I came up with in a moment. It's subject to debate. But what it says in the narrative English, it says, whenever the ark would raise up to travel, Moshe would say, "Arise, Yahweh, let your enemies be scattered, let those who hate you flee from before your face." Now, Moses was declaring something to happen, and I would put to you that by him declaring it, he was causing it to happen. He wasn't just saying, wouldn't it be nice? He was saying, I'm going to say these words, that when Yahweh gets up, it's like Dad gets up and when he takes off his belt, okay, we've had it. When Yahweh gets up, his enemies have had it. And the second verse says, when the ark would settle down, Moshe would say, "Come, Yahweh, abide tranquilly amidst your myriad thousands of Israel." It's like Shekinah with us. Pillar of Kuf over the Zadi. Depending on how you read the letters, and I could go into this whole thing, there's no time, I'm just going to read you what those same words read. Now, every word reads like a sentence, or maybe a couple sentences, depending on how you play it. So this will take a couple minutes, but just realize I'm just reading those same two verses, but every word, picture beads on a chain. Picture little charms on a bracelet. You can string them together and try to fill it in so it reads as a sentence, but the letters of a word can be read like beads on a chain or charms on a bracelet, and you have to fit them together, but they're concepts, they're pictures. Words in a sentence work the same way. This word, and you put it together, and I'm just simply looking at each word. So, here it is. This is me. Here is my work on display. Check it out. This is the word yod hey yod, which is translated as in Yehior, Vayehior, or let there be, and there was. This is the word Yehi, which means the yod, the hand of the Creator, hey, revealing it, and yod, calling it his own. Like an artist saying, here, I wrote this here. You want? Or a musician saying, I wrote this song. You want to hear it? That's what the word means. I won't go this into every word, but just showing you how that simple word works. Tested and tried, worthy of, deserving of, lifting up and carrying forward, on the offense, like a battle standard, stormy, flapping attack, like a blitzkrieg, proven, trustworthy, and effective. The plan, my intention, Yahweh speaking, that I had joyfully shouted a ringing cry for the whole world to hear, a flare, it will illuminate. The Ark of the Covenant is an illustration. If he will invoke the words, he who, Israel? If he will invoke the words, bitter sadness develops into soaring high, caused to fly, like producing antlers. It has been established and declared from the beginning. Extrapolate the burden, the demand necessary to carry for balance. If this, then that. Deuteronomy 28, look at it, you'll see aleph, mem, if, kaf, yod, thus, therefore. It's a balance. You have to do this and you'll get that. I heard a guy preaching Deuteronomy 28 and declaring it the other day. He left those verses out. Doesn't work. You're unplugged. Doesn't work. Draw out as a sacrifice. It's like choosing the best of the flock and draw it out and producing that. There's a cost to be imposed the weight upon. Exodus 20. Quantify. How much? What? Why? A fixed value stated. He's given us the price tag. Kept, preserved, and made to stand. Picture of Yeshua. It's also a picture of the Shabbat. Because Yahweh said so, declared it to be from the beginning, as the words are opened, as the mouth opens, indemnification will be paid, compensation for damages. Yahweh said, speak beautiful improvement. He will free, deliver, make beautiful, pay for the loss, open the mouth, which is also a picture of open the translation, unseal the book. I will import to you to the remote place of refuge in me, like an uncharted isle. My hostility, my grudge against you, and your enmity with me. He will raise up his Nun Samic life support ensign, give the signal, go, light the menorah, signal from the tower. He will do his charge, activate all the branches of his military, or inflate the letters of his oath. Where are you? To qualify, your own speech is duplicated, mirrored, transformed. Your own speech is folded back on yourself. Hatefulness will be transposed into adornment, like the verse, beauty for ashes. Derived from your fitting, your own mold, from the place of damage done by chewing teeth, I will remake you. Learn the Torah. You mop it up. You draw the map. The word mem-peh, map. Cartography, like Card of Jerusalem, like this dictionary. The map is drawn by our own hands. We are living the product of our own words and our own hands. If we change our words, we will change the face of the world, is what this is saying. The world is like this because we turned away from His face, His presence. We, it says you, the evacuee, the refugee, the unmarried, the uncovered. And here's a picture. This is Mem-Peh Nun Yod Kaf. It's the last word in verse 35 before we get into verse 36. Mem-Peh Yod Nun Tav, very similar word. Two letters are switched around, is the word for small napkin. And the word right before that has to do with Shin Nun Hey or Shin Nun Aleph, which means folded. Our own words are folded back. Here's the picture. When Yeshua left the tomb, he just rose from the dead. And he goes to run out the tomb and go, what? Wait a minute. I got to tidy up. He comes back and folds the napkin where his head was. There you go. Now it's like, what was that all about? Why did he stop to fold the napkin? Or did he leave and the angel goes, oh, that Yeshua. Fold the napkin and leave it there. It's like, I know I'm being silly, but think about it. It's a picture. It's a riddle. A folded napkin is these words right here between the inverted noons that say, our words, same as small napkin, fold back on ourselves. The words we speak happen. Therefore, if we speak in faith Yahweh's words, it will happen. If we speak doubt, unbelief, lack of faith, we will go down in ruin. We must learn that our words, which words? I dare say speak Hebrew. Even the people into the occult know that if you speak Hebrew, it is the most powerful weapon, the most powerful curses. And the reason they call them spells is because they spell the chants and stuff with letters. It's spelled. Listen. The occult has to do with ocular, which is the ion. Time and space, the sun, moon, and stars were put in this day. The balancing things, the people see the occult, the sorcerers and witchcraft are in this position, but we got one up from them. We've got the pay, we've got the mouth, we've got the words of Yeshua. We've got the words he gave and the explanation. He says, you speak these words, and they got nothing. You go back to, in the garden, Yahweh speaking to the Nachash, the serpent, and there's a whole other story. He says, he will crush your head and you will bruise his heel. But the phrase you will bruise his heel can be reinterpreted to mean they will speak our secret language and it flies up and you got nothing. You can't touch them. The secret weapon that we have to conquer the adversary is to speak these words. Last verse. Through the means of quietness and rest, the flock is led back to the fold with a cadence of comfort and ease, confidence. If he will invoke the words, bitter sadness develops into soaring high, cause to fly. He will command high, fine words, lofty utterances, it's the word yomer, like bringing the head to the birth canal. It has been established and declared from the beginning. As I said, the desert will bloom, the seed will sprout. Do what I said, one drop becomes a geyser. Coming back, repent from turning away. El Shaddai will revoke, give back to her, return from stubborn, refractory ways, because Yahweh said so. Multiply like rabbits, tens of thousands, arrows like rain, abounding honor, bullseye, the keyhole, build up the gateway, the importance of being his daughter, his nature, his inhabitant. I will domesticate my team. Yahweh speaking here, Alphi, the word yoke or linked together according to my mouth. It's the same word in Hebrew for where we get the word Alps or Alpen, which is to be taught Hebrew, the highest, the elite, 10,000 copies of his image. There's enough honor to fit an army. His tribe, he will cause to exist possession. This is the word for Israel retranslated. Yod, Shin Resh, Aleph Lamed. You could break it down, but the way to read the word Israel is this. He will cause to exist possession, property of El, or he will restore his covenant to Israel. The first to go, lead the way, pioneer the straight path, what is pleasing and upright. By these powerful ones, I give the authority to linkage or assemble or connect together at their words. Israel is given the voice to captain the bracelet chain of events. Yahweh's words plan events at the voice of Israel. We can be Israel. As they hear, as they fear, as they hope, as they think, as they speak, as they sing, as Israel leads the way, stuff will happen to bring Yahweh's covenant back. And so to finish the song Aleph, the Aleph Bet song. Aleph is the plan that Abba purposed in his heart. Bet is the container of all he would impart. That would be Israel. Gimel is the sent one to retrieve us home again. Yeshua. To enter through the door, the Dalet. Hey means look. He's the Vav. Man. Cut off. Put to the weapon. Perfect yet, Zion is number 7, is perfect, means the perfect man, the Zion one of 7, like the Shabbat, the one of 7, the Zion one of 7-ness, Selah. It also means stop, it means break, Selah means stop and think about it. Chet, the Migdal Yahweh, the Tower of Yahweh. Chet is for our safekeeping, sealed by Tet, branded, circumcision of heart, sealed by Tet, like a wedding ring, branded, you're claimed to be his own. Yod, his hand, who formed my hand to hold onto his kaf, which is Torah, Torah. Our regard of Torah reveals the heart. If we regard Torah, it'll reveal the heart of the Torah. It'll also regard our heart. It'll reveal our heart as we regard the Torah. Lamading, teaching and learning, so that from, mem means from, jumping out from the womb, from the water. So lamading, so that from, mem, the place of blessing or cursing, a blessed noon restart. Samik, ayin, pei, means Shema, Shomer, like Sukkot, together one. Shema, Shomer, together one. Samik, ayin, pei, in the holy place, in the Kadosh place, doing these things. Samik, ayin, pei, they work together in this triangle. Zadi stands alone, though all Israel shall become conformed to the image of the Torah of Yeshua, the archetype set before us, is the image that we shall be conformed into. After, Kuf, our noble Resh, but it's also a picture of Israel being given the covenant. Sheen, our shining, Eli1, after Resh, our noble Resh, after Kuf, our noble Resh, exalted in the sky, the coming of Yeshua. Sheen, our shining, Elion, the Most High, Yahweh, El Shaddai. The Aleph, Tavd, accomplished and completed, just as he said. The words went forth, will not return to me void. The one word left untranslated, the word spelled Aleph Tav is never translated. It's used as a grammatical inference, a pointer, but it has no translation. The dictionary will tell you it means you or with, but not used as an et. That's another story. The one word left untranslated, the one we all reject. We have all been guilty of rejecting him and his word. Thanks, Yeshua, for calling us back, paying the price so we could come home by shedding your blood. Thank you, Yeshua.